Shalom Akim, Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakakadash, double honors and salutations to the elders and apostles of Great Stone the Well, this Nash DC camp and Akim, to the foreigners of the earth to your sis, Shalom. Yeah, so this coming week, these elites have to make sure they have their so-called inauguration, and they're already making plans to have a heavy security presence. And first time in a long time they've had to go this route. So it's just a sign of the times, okay? And they already understand that they have a short time to be in rulership. So they have to pull out all the stops. They have to make a heavy presence known to all the people. And that's what Esau's trying to do, trying to make the people fear him. But the people are going to rise up against the elites, man. So it doesn't matter how many security, security plans they put up. It's always going to end up, right, in a skirmish at the end of the day. Okay, so it doesn't change anything. It doesn't change what the Lord Kwakadash has already destined for America, also known as Babylon in the Holy Scriptures. All right. So all this is just temporary. All right, the real get down's on its way. Okay, World War III still has to happen. They still have to heavily declare martial law throughout the whole country. All right, so all they're doing now is just trial runs. All that stuff that happened in the capital at Michigan, the state of Michigan, it's all trial runs. So they got to test the waters to see how the people will react, and they have to scale it up. Okay, and that's exactly what happened on January 6th in DC. It just proves that it's all set up. And I can have been in this truth for a long time. You already know that the United States Capitol is built on lot 666, and it's no coincidence, right? And that's how the elites are, man. They always have to create an event so they could draw more power to themselves, and that's exactly what they've been doing. So let me just hurry up and read the scriptures real quick from the book of Second Ezra chapter 16. So it says in verse 17, woe is me, who will deliver me in those days? You already know what the answer to that is Hamashiach Yahushai. All right, because the Lord has have a hedge around this elect, okay, so that prophecy will be fulfilled. All right, and the Lord's already said that those days shall be shortened for the elect's sake. All right, and then in verse 18 it says, the beginning of sorrows and great mournings, the beginning of famine and great debt. So it's going to escalate, man. All right, all these trial runs is going to lead to the real showdown. All right, then it says the beginning of wars, and the powers shall stand in fear. The beginning of evils, what shall I do when those evils shall come? Yeah, you just got to put your trust in the Lord. Proverbs chapter 18 verse 10, lets you know what you have to do. So I'm just read it real quick. Proverbs chapter 18 verse 10, it says, the name of the Lord is a strong tower. The righteous runneth into it and is safe. All right. So all these, activities, to cast spell over the people, it's always gonna, fall apart, because the Lord Shai is basically closing that window for the elites to be effective with their so-called witchcraft. And all right, and that's the reason why they're upset and they're nervous, and they have to bring all their peons, on the news to generate all types of propaganda. All right.
Good evening, and it's great to have you with us here on this Thursday night. And we begin with news just coming in tonight, what we have just heard from FBI Director Christopher Wray, with just days now until Joe Biden is sworn in as our next president. The FBI also issuing a new bulletin warning authorities in the nation's capital and in the capital cities of all 50 states to prepare for a possible showdown against violent extremists attempting to take on law enforcement. They warn of loss of life, of property damage, of disruption of government that could overwhelm law enforcement and emergency response. Authorities.
One thing you also have to know is all what you see on TV, is just a major distraction from what's really going on behind the scenes, all right? Because while the people are focused on the Capitol and the inauguration, the so-called shadow government, the so-called higher-ups, they're planning on what to do next, for the next couple of months, for the next couple of years. While people are busy, smiling and giggling and taking selfies and protesting, they don't understand what the elites around the world have been planning to do. That they've already been drawing up war plans for World War III, and they've been drawing down, the plans to tear America apart. So don't be surprised when you hear about the UN wants to bring in their so-called peacekeeping troops when everything gets messed up here in America. All right, brothers already had visions about it, so it's not going to be any surprise. And the famine of the world is coming, but the word is still going to be out there. It's not going to really disappear. All right, so that's one thing you have to understand. And read the book of Matthew chapter 24. All right, Matthew 24, and then you read verses 12 and 13. And then it says, and because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. That's what you're going to have very soon. When the folks that are unprepared, they've gotten so used to this system, they're going to fall into the traps of the enemy. All that voodoo that Esau likes to push on his news and through his legislation and through his propaganda, these people are going to walk right into it. And that's exactly what happened with that so-called Capitol protest. It was an elaborate scheme, right, to bamboozle the people into thinking that they can affect change, but they can't. All right, because to the elite, the Capitol doesn't really mean much. They have greater goals. All right, and their goal is to get the birthright back from the children of Israel, which is the so-called Negro, the so-called Latino, and the so-called Native Americans. All right, and it also says that in verse 13, Matthew 24, verse 13, but he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved. Yeah, and that's how it is for the elect. All right, because our people are caught up in all these unnecessary protests. Even last night, listen to the madness at what's that guy's name? The so-called professor from Harvard. Man, that guy was just terrible, man. Terrible. Professor of what he calls it, public philosophy, was on CNN. Man. So let me see if I can find his name, man. Man, just terrible. Just bear with me 1 second. Public philosophy. Oh yeah, what's his name? Yeah, Cornel West. Madness, man. So it just shows you how crazy, our people have become when they get, entangled in this system of Esau. Talking about all that nonsense, man. And then you have to understand, man. Hey, this knowledge was not given to the so-called wise of this world, man. It's that clear. So let me just play this video some more.
Warning of the very real potential of new attacks following the deadly riots at the Capitol. Tonight, the intelligence they're now picking up. And the new images tonight, up to 21,000 National Guard members are being deployed to Washington. They will take up positions around the White House, the Capitol building, the Supreme Court. More troops than in Iraq and Afghanistan combined.
And then that lets you know. That lets you know. All right. So, like I mentioned earlier, the Capitol was constructed on Lot 666. So then you have the so-called National Guard guarding the Capitol. So you have to understand it's all witchcraft. That's exactly how ESO operates. They always like to think it's just a difference of political opinion. But the deeper you dig, you just figure out that, man, these suckers are just conducting an exercise, what we call a freaking seance. And that's exactly what they plan to also do on Inauguration Day. So they have to hurry up and get everything done before noon on January 20th. And it's been like that for every freaking president, So Trump is just part of the whole game, It's all a freaking mirage, And a lot of people have gotten caught up in it, folks thinking that their vote meant a huge difference. So a lot of folks that went to go vote, now they realize that, something else is going on. And they're waking up and they're going to realize that, God damn, they got taken for a ride.
Authorities closing the Capitol complex and possibly closing the entire National Mall on Inauguration Day. And there's news tonight about the nationwide manhunt for rioters. Federal prosecutors charging the suspect seen beating an officer with a pole holding the American flag. A retired firefighter now under arrest tonight, accused of throwing a fire extinguisher at police. The rioters seen walking the halls of the Capitol carrying a Confederate flag, now arrested. And new questions tonight about why there were tours of the Capitol the day before the riots, when lawmakers say they understood that those tours had been halted last spring because of the pandemic. Many lawmakers calling those tours the day before the attack suspicious. Here's our Chief Justice correspondent Pierre Thomas tonight, leading us off.
Tonight, a new intelligence assessment raising the specter of continued insurrection next week. The new FBI bulletin urges authorities in D.C. and all 50 state capitals to prepare for...
Yep. And you just got to be careful, man, with Esau, all right? Because you're dealing with a serpent, and it's going to create a huge mess, all because he wants to get something little that's hiding in a corner, while other people are looking in a different direction. That's how they operate, always distraction, all right? And, it's basically what you call information warfare. It's that clear. When people say, oh, censorship this, censorship that, no. It's about war. They are at war against the truth. All right? You know that the truth cannot stand the lie, and the lie cannot stand the truth. So, hey, at the end of the day, the Lord has already said that the truth shall prevail, okay? And that light is going to overcome darkness, okay? The time of darkness ruling over the earth is coming to an end. That's why they have to shut down websites that exposes them, all right? Because their power is, it's all about secrecy. And when they can no longer maintain secrecy, they have to shut down, all right? The other avenues where people could get information from, in fact, credible information about what's going on. So you just have to be, cautious about how they operate, man. And the FBI is no different. Their job is just to make sure that, they put down, they put down any organization that's willing to speak truth to power, all right? And it's just what you call, a glorified police department, man. That's all it is, man. Their job is not to make sure the American people stay free. That's just an illusion, okay? You just have to understand that. You haven't really seen the actual investigative reports for 9/11, all right? So you ask yourself, when are they going to release that, okay? So you just, sit back, and then you look at all the dust settled, and then you look at all the musical chair, tactics they're playing, and you realize, it's just the same old stuff, man. Same old puppets, different costumes, the same puppet masters. And that's what it is, You don't fall for the okie doke anymore, And when they come after you, you're not really surprised, all right? So you just got to be spiritual.
Fight or face the prospect that violent offenders could, quote, overwhelm local, state, and federal law enforcement. 6 days until the inauguration, and with an expected 21,000 National Guard available, there are now more troops in Washington, D.C. than U.S. military in Afghanistan and Iraq combined. Razor wire, blocked streets, a city fortifying itself. Officials shutting down the entire Capitol complex and floating the possibility of keeping everyone off the net.
And that's what they want you to get used to, want to turn America into what you call a police state, right? And they already told you that the FBI mentioned to all the so-called law enforcement agencies and the police departments across the 50 so-called 50 states about what they need to do to protect their so-called capital, So they want to take extra precautions to make sure their voodoo exercise does not get interrupted. Just like when you watch all those movies, the guy is trying to save a woman from the so-called witch, and then the ceremony gets interrupted. That's what they're trying to avoid, all right?
National Mall.
The National Mall normally would be filled with hundreds of thousands of people who come to watch the inauguration. Shutting it down would be unprecedented, but it shows you just how concerned officials are.
All this because the FBI believes that last week's assault emboldened right-wing radicals to return and pursue more violence.
Anybody who plots or attempts violence in the coming week should count on a visit.
Sources telling ABC News different groups from around the country appear to be coordinating.
And the funny thing, you don't have to plan no, attack or whatever to get a visit. The visit is going to come anyway, all right, because this gospel of Hamashiach Yahushua is very, very dangerous to the elite, and they are afraid. And they don't have what it takes to confront us on a so-called debatable level discourse. They can't, because they know that they're in deep trouble. All right, they've seen what the Lord has to offer, and their real goal is to divert people's attention from the real elephant in the room, and that is Hamashiach Yahushua, his return. And that's what they're planning to do. They're trying to get back that birthright. So the book of Micah, chapter 5, verse 13 says, let me start from verse 11. Micah chapter 5, verse 11. And now we cut off the cities of thy land and throw down all thy strongholds. All right? And that's a promise from the Lord to these elites, man. The Lord is coming back with serious vengeance. All right. And then verse 12 says, and I will cut off witchcrafts out of thine hand, and thou shalt have no more soothsayers. All right. And is that clear? So the Lord is coming back to shake down these Edomites, man. So it doesn't matter what their qualifications are as per training and academics and research. It doesn't change anything. The Lord is coming back to shake down, the world, and kick them to the curb. It's that clear, because the world needs to be rejuvenated, and they've proven themselves to be incompetent. All right, so they're no longer needed, and they're just trying to save face. And then verse 13 says that graven images also will I cut off. So the capital will no longer be protected when the Lord Yahushua shows up, man. Because the nuclear missiles got to do their job. All right, the angels going to do their jobs too, with those chariots to tear down Babylon. All right, and thy standing images out of the midst of thee, and thou shalt no more worship the work of thine hands. And it's that clear. So are you going to be able to pay a visit to Yahushua, Mr. Ray? Is that clear? How are you gonna prepare for the Lord Yahushua coming? In the heavens with his chariots. Terrible looking stuff, man. Terrible looking chariots. That can tear people apart without even shooting the beam at them. So the Lord is coming with a great entry, man, to tear down Esau's kingdom. And there's nothing Esau can do about it, all right? And he's so upset, he's nervous, he's angry, okay?
Night, FBI Director Wray briefing chiefs in major cities, telling them to be on the lookout for potential lone wolf actors that could blend in with more peaceful protesters.
When you have people come down to peacefully protest and get a large crowd and some bad actors infiltrate that can turn a peaceful crowd into what we've seen in the past.
At the same time, they're...
Yeah, so, just like, the Zaquayam or DC Camp, talked about last week concerning Project Megiddo, they have every single group represented at that so-called protest, man, whether they want to call it a riot or insurrection or an attack. Every so-called group that's on the Project Megiddo, reports generated by the FBI is on that list. So they have to create an avenue for them to show some force and try to maintain control, because they have to consolidate power to have their new order. All right. So the book of Nahum chapter 3 verse 1 says, woe to the bloody city. It is full of lies. All right. It is full of lies. So what are you going to get? A lot. Lies, 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 lies. Okay. Propaganda. And then it says, and robbery. What? Robbery. Theft of wages, theft of land and resources, theft of people's ideas. Then it says, the prey departed not. So this describes, the elites right there, man. When you build a city on lies and robbery and murder and enslavement, what do you expect the Lord Yahushua to do when He comes back? Especially for Him to deliver His people, the elect of the nation of Israel. All right. So Esau's just angry, man. He's just upset, and when he sees the man of the Lord, he can't really, decide how he's gonna, frame his words, because we already know, who the puppets are, man, and they already know what their judgment is. So it doesn't matter when they come knocking on your door. You see them on the job, you see them at the grocery store, at the gas station. They try to cut you off in traffic. They give your families problems and all that stuff. They know that they're in deep trouble. All right, so they're going to throw a temper tantrum. So Nahum chapter 3 verse 4 says, because of the multitude of the whoredoms of the well-favored harlot, the mistress of witchcrafts, that selleth nations through her whoredoms, and families through her witchcraft. Yep. So all that describes America right there. And that's exactly what this inauguration ceremony is all about. It's all about, consultation with demons. The puppets got to make sure they fall in line, with the plans of the elite. So those days are numbered, and, they're going to be upset, man. So verse 5 says, behold, I am against thee, said the Lord Yahweh Bashim Shai Bashim Kokodash. That's about what? Or the Lord of hosts. And I will discover thy skirts upon thy face, and I will shew the nations thy nakedness, and the kingdoms thy shame. So America's going to fall apart, man. All the plans they've had, to come after the man of the Lord, they're going to be, upset of their losses that they're about to take. When people get used to winning all the time, winning, and then when they could no longer win anymore, they get upset, they get nervous, and that's how it is for these elites, man. They can no longer enjoy the victory they once had because it's about to go down the drain. So you just gotta be cautious, man, these last days, man. So you see the man with the yellow wearing the "Don't Tread on Me" flag. They talk, in other news report, they talk about military members being part of the protest. They talk about firefighters and police officers, and then they talk about white supremacists. They talk about everything, man. So hey, that tells you that it was all orchestrated. It's just what you call a a plan of the elites to generate. They're trying to generate sympathy from the people, but it's not going to work. All right, because Babylon's got to go down, and after that, it's enslavement, it's servitude in the kingdom of heaven for these elites that run the world. So that's just the point that I can. I wish I could have made this video shorter, but the more you go into the topic, the longer, the details have to be, explained. So that's just the point that I can make. Always look further. It's all some voodoo. That's exactly what Esau's about, all about witchcraft. And with that, I just say Shalom, Ba'ashem Ashai, Ba'ashem Kwakadash.